Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Sun's out, guns out, blue skies, back in the garden, another day of lockdown. And in today's video, I've been recommended what to do from you guys in the comments of the last. We're gonna look at how to manual. Before we get into the thick of it with manualing, I'm sure you wanted to know who has won the DMR Oi saddle from the last video. Now, I gave you guys the chance to win them by telling me how many pubs I referenced to in the video. So some of you locals would have seen there was a few more pubs, but I only actually referenced 3 pubs, obviously showing you a hotel and bakery, but they're irrelevant. So 3 pubs, over 1,000 of you had entered, so I've loaded up quite a few here. So what we're going to do is we're going to give it a little shuffle. So we go up, down, and stop. 3 pubs mentioned. I think Lovely Settings Dorset. Well, there we go. We've got Luke Norton. Well done, dude. You have won yourself a pair of these, so get in touch and we'll sort that out. Looking at all the comments from the last video, there's so many of you that are wanting to learn how to manual, or you're getting the first part of the manual, or even a lot of you are actually saying you've got a manual machine, how do you correctly use one, blah 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 blah. Super lucky last year to be sent a sender ramp. Now I can almost hear you through the computer screen already. You're going, Ben, why do you need a manual machine? You can manual. Plan was last year before the Melvins was I was going to take one of their machines to the event and we're going to have a little competition on the DMR stand, but obviously that didn't materialize because of the weather. Who would have thought it, looking at the weather now. This isn't a plug to go and buy a manual machine by any means, because those of you that can't manual, that haven't got a manual machine, do the stuff that we're going to do today. If it doesn't work, then maybe think about one, but let me know later on in the video. So let's get that out and give it a go. Right, everyone loves on YouTube the grand unboxing. Watch this video to the end. Here's the grand unbox. Well, quite clearly in here is the manual machine. We built it up once, and I'll be totally honest, I've actually lent it out to my mate for a while who can't manual. As much as he wants to tell me how he's learnt how to manual, I think it's just clogged up his garage. So it's back and we're getting some action. Sort of looks like a bit of a jigsaw going on. Let's get building it, see what we can do. The next thing we need to do, if I remember, is just measure the bike out. So you've got different holes in various places. So because I've got 650 wheels on this particular bike, we've actually put it in its longest settings, as far forward as we can on the front, as far as we can on the rear. If it was a 29er, wouldn't be a problem because that would just sit slightly higher, but it's all perfectly safe. Once you've got your various settings, we're just going to whack it into place, and then final little spaces depending on how thick your tyres are. Next thing we're going to do is just wedge it. Should just be a nice flush fit now. As you can see, the bike is pretty much bomb proof now, so that is well and truly in there. We're just going to fit the floor pads. Not that you really need it. I've seen plenty of homemade jobs, but as I said, sender ramps have given me this to try out, so hopefully this works. Show you guys. Lads, a bang on. Look at the state of that. That is so cool. A personalised manual machine. This is all just for safety, just to make sure that you don't get trapped down there or anything like that. Okay, so it looks like a normal drill, but I'm actually super stoked about this because I won this at Crankworx New Zealand in the air downhill. So actually managed to get this all the way back from New Zealand, which I'm pretty pumped about. It actually looks like a bit of a boat or a spaceship. It's designed for a purpose, and that is to try and get you guys manualing. Finishing touches is obviously putting the bike in, give her a good push in, and this is where the safety comes in. One of these straps, they actually give you 2, one to put on the rear wheel and one to put on the loop out point. You just want to check how tight the strap is. If it's too tight, it's just going to stop the front from going up. At the same time, you don't want it to be too loose that you do actually enable yourselves to loop out. So what you want to try and do is get to that balance point, but not have it so it's tight, so it's still nice and loose. You can find that balance point. Even if I go super pull, I'll find that strap and then come back down. So that's the importance of doing that strap to the right level, because if it was too slack, you'd probably end up off the back. I guess you guys all want to know how to get the front wheel up in the air. The biggest problems that we have with the manual, and that is people either snatch at the bar, so they start pulling. As soon as you start pulling, you're going to have bent elbows, or they drop their toes. The biggest way to get the front wheel up in the air is actually straight arms, heels down. I think I've heard one of the riders, Tom Cardy, think about just chilling out on your sofa. Basically, if you relax, in short, heels are down. Some people talk about the L, so basically you're compressing the bike and then pushing it forward underneath you. Main problems we have with a number of riders is they try and get the front wheel up all on pull. Unfortunately, this is a skill actually all on push. So when we're in that attack position, ready position, however you want to look at it, I want you to think about being in a nice strong position. We're going to think about dropping those heels, straight arms, and all I want you to think about is looking ahead and literally just get a nice balanced position. So we're not pushing too hard, we're just getting that front wheel up in the air. As soon as we've got to grips with that, that's where we're going to think about pushing even harder, keeping those straight arms and just getting in that ready position. So if you look at my bum, I'm literally right back behind the rear axle, I'm dropping my heels, I'm keeping my arms nice and straight. The main thing I want you to use one of these for is just to get the initial up, keeping those heels down, keeping the arms straight, and that hopefully should cure a lot of you. Manual machines, super good bit of kit, however they lack the sort of lateral movement, and that is why a lot of you that have got a manual machine might find it a lot harder when we go onto the road. So let's go onto the road, give it a go. Right then guys, we've learned how to do the manual on the manual machine. As I said earlier, a manual machine will do a lot of the work for you because you're not having to use your core as much. It's a simple up or down. This is where it gets super hard. I would highly recommend using a big open flat surface, ideally if you're learning grass, because what you don't want to do is loop out because it does hurt. We're going to set the camera up. Apologise if it's not too good because it's just me. I'm a one-man band. Let's have a look, see how we get on. Hopefully you guys have learned quite a lot already. So we've taken it from the manual machine to the streets, man. To recap, I want you guys to think about getting that front wheel off the ground with no pulling whatsoever. This is what I mean by pulling. Never going to last long, so don't even try it. Think about straight arms. If you've got straight arms, that's telling me you're doing something right. Problem is I don't know when I'm out of shot. Straight arms, heel drop. Next thing to think about is thinking what these heels do. If our heels are dropped, our front wheel should stay up. Where it goes wrong for a lot of people is they either drop their toe, which therefore puts the weight back on the front, or they start going flipping out, this is quite high, and then start bringing their chin into the bar, and that's where their weight's in the wrong place, so therefore the front wheel goes back down. Your brake is your saving grace. Your brake is going to stop you from looping out over the back, so make sure you have a good handful of that just in case. On the manual machine, the rope was doing all your work for you. Unfortunately now it's using your own little fingers to work on your brake to stop you going off the back. And obviously the fact that now we've got the lateral movement as well, so you can obviously move your hips, move your handlebars, whatever aids the balance. All I would say is the faster you go, the easier you should find it. Next step, get a bit more speed, and this time I just want you to think about heel drop, looking ahead. So you can do that technique sitting down, standing up. As I said before, just make sure that you've pushed to get up there. You haven't yanked at the bar, because you find yourself lasting about 2 seconds, manualing that is. So just have a little play with that. Manual's a super sick skill. You know, we're not necessarily looking for a manual to hold for minutes on end. Just to pop the front wheel up without pulling at the bars will be a massive help out on the trails. If you think about the L shape, just thinking about kicking back, pushing your feet out, straight arms. But as a telltale sign, if you're watching each other and you're going, well, I can't get it up, another manual intended. If your arms are bent at all, that's just told you that you've pulled at the bars, or once you've got in the manual position, it just means that you're leaning forward on the bike. Some people go massively into too much detail. If you can try that, if it still doesn't work, then please write in the comments and I'll try and adjust to hopefully allow it to work for you. So we've learned what a manual is, and we've realized how valuable it is on the trails, whether that be getting the front wheel up over a little route, over a little rock, whatever. We're now going to put it into practice on a much larger scale. So I'd recommend, if you are going to go for this, certainly to start off with, use a bit of grass. Therefore, if you do Larry loop out, at least you've got a bit more of a cushion. I certainly wouldn't recommend doing it down a road. However, we are in isolation, so it's a lot more quiet than normal. Let's check it. Much bigger scale now. Gonna get some speed, push through with our feet, and there we go. There's our balance point. So you can sort of see I'm using my brake now and again to control that movement, holding it. If I feel myself going left or right, I'm just going to counter with my hips. Yo! So you just sort of see at the minute I'm staying sat on the seat. If I find myself going too far forward or too far back, that's why I'm going to just push through with my heels. So you can move your hips, you can move your bars, all that good stuff. So you sort of see as I go slower, that's why I need to think more about the balance. So you can see a much slower pace. You have to think about the wheelie, which we'll probably look at another day. You start to take the limbs off, all that good stuff. You know, see if we no, not that good. Right, another hill. Let's see if we can do another one for you. So using the hill, getting that balance point once again, just staying sat in that pocket of balance. So as I said before, if you've got the speed, you'll find it less twitchy. If you've got less speed, that's when you start messing it up. So if you want to turn, just start leaning. And then once again, if you run out of speed, that's where we're going to have to rely for the wheelie. So that's where we're getting the pedals back into the bike. What a cruise. So it's definitely quite a core workout. So I'm always just feathering that rear brake. So I'm finding that balance point, rear brake, bringing the front end back down, or I'm just using my hips to balance. Well, there we go, guys. The time has come. It is the end of the video. Hopefully you learned a little something. Remember that back brake is your saving grace, whether it means on the manual machine or out on the streets, man. So if you have learned a little something, I'd really appreciate, as some of you may well know, a mountain bike coaching session does cost money. So just to donate a small percentage to the NHS, that would be really helpful. Hopefully everyone is staying safe out there. Keep it going. Be great if you give it a thumbs up. Be sick if you subscribe. And until the next one, make sure you let me know in the comments what you want to see next. I'll see you in a bit. Oi, oi.